Keith Urban's joining us right now. And
nice to talk to you,
right,
Al. If you've just joined us, we're talking about sleep cycles. Who's not sleeping enough? Call in. I don't call in.
I can imagine you probably don't get nearly as much sleep as I do. You have been.
I do. I sleep fine. Yeah, really? I don't have to get up at 4 a.m. like you do. That's rough, man.
I mean,
woof.
Get used to it after a while, but you're doing late shows on Monday nights, pop-up shows at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto.
That was really fun.
Talk about that, because what I think is really unique and interesting is you seem like an individual who you almost not prefer those, but you really take pride in doing those shows because they're so intimate and small, and they give people a sense of, you feel like you're really a part of something when you're in that close knit of an area.
Yeah.
And just talk about getting a chance to do those shows and being so close and surrounded by those fans and getting a chance to experience that.
It's the foundation of what I do, because it's how I got started. I got started playing in small clubs. I quit school when I was 15 and was playing 5 nights a week, 4 hours a night in cover bands from 15 onwards. So it's all I've ever known is playing in places smaller than the Horseshoe with way less people who couldn't care less that there's a guy on stage playing, So there's something about that intimacy of the audience right up in your face, and low ceiling, and your amp is right behind you, whacking the back of your legs, and the band is cramped up there. And something about that, for me, feels so right for how the music I like is meant to be made. And then when you if you're lucky and get to play bigger venues like we do, I'm just trying to scale up that feeling and experience, but I'm still trying to hold a sense of that intimacy and rawness with the audience, no matter how big it is. I don't want it to be a big, mass, lavish thing. I want the audience up close and personal if I can.
Well, and you get that sense too, and then you create moments like you did for local artist Peter Perez, who was impromptu. Him and his guitarist happened to come up, and you guys ended up playing Somebody Like You, and you just see the joy that emulates in his face.
Yeah.
It's a moment that he's never going to forget. Hopefully you never forget as well.
No,
but
it was
you said
incredible.
that was totally spontaneous and just out of the blue.
Everything we do interacting with the audience is always spontaneous. I've never staged one interaction with an audience thing ever in my life, and I never would. You can't. I mean, I can't speak for other artists, but I could never do it because it wouldn't work. It's staged, it just wouldn't work. So my things are like, it's amazing amount of times it works with somebody, FaceTiming someone or whatever, but I've had plenty of things fall apart. The reason why I said to that guy when he's like, hey, I want to get up and play a song with you, I'm like, can you actually play?
Yeah.
I've had people go, yeah, but get up there, and then they suck. And then I'm like, how do I get this guy off the stage? So I'm like, okay, if you can really play, because I didn't know who they were.
Right.
But if you can really play, come on up. I mean, good for you for coming up and playing. Because if you can't, this audience will kill you anyway.
Exactly.
So, and they nailed it. It was so fun.
And then again, and that moment now is going to live in infamy for him forever too, which is so fantastic. And then on top of that, the big announcement of the tour, the High and Alive tour. You've got Alana Springsteen, who we love here in Canada.
Great.
She had a massive year in 2024. From what it seems like, because she was with you on New Year's Eve as well.
Yeah.
She performed with you on stage, and it kind of gave us flashbacks to how you not brought up Lainey Wilson, but she was a big part of you for a little bit. She went to a tour Australia. You were telling her where to go and everything. And I feel like now Alana is now like the next artist who you're kind of showing around, and she's set to explode too.
She's great. She's the real deal. She sat in with us at Summerfest in Milwaukee as well, and she's just got the right vibe, got a cool voice. She's just cool. So I'm glad she's coming on tour with us.
And Chase Matthews along with it as well.
Yeah,
and
another cool cat.
How do you go about picking who's going to come with you? Is there conversations prior to? Do you listen to their sound? How does that work?
It's all the above. It's the music compatibility. It's them as people, because you're going to spend a lot of time on the road together. You want to get along. And I love a sense of sort of collaborative energy with everybody. I don't like the idea that there's like, well, you go out and do your thing, and I could care less who you are or what you do, because it's like it's our show.
Yeah,
it's all of our show, and the audience should have a great show from the second they walk in the door. The very first artist should, I hope, kill it. and then the next artist, and so on.
And then you want to make it feel like, yeah, it's all one show and it's not small individual shows that lead up to keep.
That's
like
right.
You want everything to be collaborative.
Totally.
Yeah.
We want to entertain the audience.
And then the album High as well, which was released a little while back. You've got the second single off of it now, Straight Line. I've listened to it top to bottom. I listened to it on the way here as well. How do you go about selecting it? Because there's so many good tracks on the album. What was the direction for that being the second single off the album?
Thanks, Hal. It was really the record company called and said, we really would love Straight Line next. Are you good with that? I'm like, you can pick anything off this record. I wouldn't have put it on the record if I wasn't good with it. So it's definitely been a song we started early on in the tour, and our gigs last year, we opened the show with it right out of the gate, and it's been pretty much an opening song ever since.
Well, it's high energy. It definitely is a starting point for a show, and I can see that. Another song that I am very invested in is Daytona.
Oh,
and
nice.
the reason behind it is one of the writers that you've worked with on it before was Stephen Lee Olson, who obviously wrote Blue Ain't Your Color.
Yeah.
When you saw that song come up and you saw his name, was that a memory thing of knowing that he's written in the past before, and was that a connection, or it just happened to be two straight songs that you've liked?
He wrote that song with a guy who was in my band at the time, Nathan Barlow.
Okay.
So Nathan actually sent me the song when they had written it. The two of them wrote it, and they sent it to me 2017.
Wow.
January 2017. And I remember Nathan texted and he says, I know every writer thinks the song they just wrote is their best song ever. He goes, but I think this really is, And so I listened to it and went, that's a really good song, Nathan. Can I put it on hold? And then I recorded it, and it didn't make Graffiti You, the album I worked on the following year. And then I kept it, and then I tried to put it on The Speed of Now, and it didn't fit that record. And, 7 odd years later, it makes its way onto High, and it just fit perfectly.
And the wait time on some songs can really be upwards of a decade if it doesn't fit the vibe and what you're trying to create on an album. And that was the case for that song. And maybe if you released it too early, it doesn't get the same feeling that goes with the album.
Maybe not, yeah. I think, songs find their way, they find their time, find the artist. I'm just really grateful they kept their faith in me that I was actually going to put it out one day. It's a long time to wait.
And you're going to be in Toronto, you're all over Canada, Calgary, Winnipeg as well. Yeah. You have different shows there, and I feel like Canada always has a very big appreciation for you. It almost seems like you create your own window to make sure that Canada gets fully represented from coast to coast.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like it's important for you? I mean, obviously to go around everywhere, but Canada specifically, because I feel like there's a very special place for you here.
Very.
Yeah.
That was from day one. And that was just a case of y'all got what I was doing. Like the audience got what I was doing. I could feel it immediately. And we played a very small club. I think it might have been in Vancouver or somewhere like that. It was a tiny little place. Would have been my first album. And I remember vividly, within 2 songs of that set, looking at the audience and thinking to myself, they get it. They get what I'm doing. I can tell. Like, more than just familiarity of the song or something, they get what I'm doing musically. They get this thing I've fused together, these styles that I've put together. They get it. And I think it's that Australian-Canadian connection. We're very similar in a lot of ways. We have a lot of American sort of US influence musically, culturally and everything. We have a lot of influence from England, UK, Europe. And then we've got our own local thing. Like Canada's got its own rich local thing, and it melts all that together like I do in Australia. And that's why I think everybody got it here. So I felt at home right away.
Well, and I love, because I feel like Canadians do have that soft spot for you, and they can't wait for the tour. And you've been on tour many times before as well. You've been on shows as a host, whether it's The Voice, America, you name it. What do you want to accomplish, or what do you want to come out of this tour with these group of artists that are with you and this set here later on this year?
New memories for everybody. I mean, that's really what concerts are, aren't they, at the end of the day, or any of those experiences is some good memories, and then hopefully all I want to do is take everybody out of their life for a couple of hours and put them in an alternate reality where there's no stress, no worries, no friction, everything's okay. You can just let go and have fun and be alive, high and alive, like for 2 hours plus.
The name sets perfectly then for the tour.
Yeah.
Keith, thank you so much for doing this
My
with
pleasure,
us today.
Howard.
We can't wait for all your shows across Canada, Toronto, Calgary, Winnipeg, you name it. And we'll be waiting for the next pop-up show as well. We'll see if something comes up.
Might be a Tim Hortons. You never know, right?
Keith, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you.